Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening. Good night. Hello. How's everyone? How you doing, Andrea?
Hi, Eduardo. Welcome back to our podcast.
Welcome to what's the name of the podcast? I forgot. No, I'm just kidding. Insights from Eve. Good
I
morning,
didn't
everyone. Good
forget.
afternoon. Forgotten. Come on. All right.
Okay, this
Uh,
is episode 2. I'm Andrea, and joining me is Eduardo. Hi, Eduardo. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Eduardo. I'm in Vancouver. For those who didn't get to catch in my the first episode. I'm a cloud data architect from Duet, currently doing Duet, and we are sharing some of the insights on this podcast. Andrea, what are you? Where are you? What are you doing right now?
I am in Portugal, and I am working as a conversational designer for KindWorks AI.
One day we're gonna talk about what a conversational designer does. But
One day.
I think that's for another episode.
Okay. Um, Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that's practically the backbone of our digital world, and that's data. We hear it everywhere that data is the new oil, basically, data driven decisions, big data. But, Eduardo, what's the role of data in today's world? And with so much data floating around, how do we manage it?
Yeah, there is a huge amounts of data. I mean, we last episode we talked about Gen AI, LLMs. That continues to be a differentiator data. How do you use these models and how you use data? There is a lot of information and knowledge in the data you gather in your business everywhere. And so it can help you make decisions. It can help you know where you're going, what type of things you need to change in your business. So there is tons and tons of data, and there is all types of data. There is structured data, there is unstructured data, there is text, there is conversations that you may have with customers, there is feedback from customers, there is the transactions that you may have from your data. And so all this data has to go somewhere. And traditionally, we have put it into relational databases. MySQL, very popular one, being open source. And from there is a ton of different options now available. Not only relational databases, we have columnar databases, we have data lakes, we have data warehouses, and now we have vector databases, which is a completely different realm of databases. But overall, there is all this massive amount of databases and options available to us to be able to make sense of data. Which ones have you worked with, Andrea? I mean,
SQL, I guess.
you're not a solution architect or a developer,
No.
but you have worked with some of them.
Yeah,
Which ones
MySQL,
are
I
you
guess.
MySQL? Is
Yeah.
there any other ones that you have worked with?
Mm, but I don't know. Is that Power BI? I don't know. Is that?
But, I mean, that's a like you're mentioning a good point. Like Power BI, how can I put it? It's not a database per se, but it does have this ability to hold aggregated data, and you can make manipulations of the data to be able to be presented in a nice way, like the graphs, and to be able to make sense out of them, right? So
Mm.
it is important for us to be able to. Okay, so we have the differentiator, we have databases, and we have like presentation software, right? So Power BI is one of them. Tableau is another one. Looker from Google is a very powerful one right now. But your data, it has to be stored somewhere, and traditionally has been relational databases, which are great for transactions, are great for being able to store all of this data. But nowadays we are holding out data from text, we're holding data from audio, images, documents, and we need to be able to make sense out of this. There is information in these records, right? So it's important to understand that there is multiple databases that you can utilize. So I mentioned relational database. We are mostly familiar with that. You have your records, you have your tables. If you work with Excel, you can imagine tables being Excel sheets, and then you are putting together multiple Excel sheets that are coming from that have different data, and you're joining them together because maybe one spreadsheet has your customer data, and then another spreadsheet has your orders, and so you're putting together your customer with your orders, and now you have orders per customers and have all this information. But when you're dealing with analytics at a very large quantity, and we are talking about millions of records, terabytes of data that your organization may have over time, then, and you're doing analytics at a very large, for example, hey, how many orders did I did in 2023? That's a very large amount of data. You're going to put them in a columnar database. What's the difference between a columnar database and a relational database? Well, a relational database, your data gets stored at a row level. Okay, so everything in that row, it's going to store in one file, like very tied together. So when you access that one record, it's really fast to retrieve it. What with columnar database, you're actually storing the column. So you may have the cost of an order, or you may have the item that got stored in one column, the item that got bought. So all that column is going to get stored really close together. So when you're saying like, hey, how many orders I did in 2023, it's a lot faster to retrieve the records for a column that is the time, retrieve all of that. So it's a lot faster. If you want to know, for example, hey, how many records I did in a particular day for a particular customer, for a particular item, that's going to be accessing one particular record. And if you're trying to retrieve all of that, the columnar database is going to be slow compared to the traditional relational database because you're accessing one row instead of doing aggregation across one column. So it's important to understand both of them. And both of them are handling structured data. So that means that you know exactly, like if you can imagine a Google spreadsheet, that is a structure. It's columns, rows, and you are putting all of that together in either a relational database or a columnar database for analytics. And as you can imagine, the columnar database is good for analytics, not really good for individual transactions where you're serving a web application or an application in general. It's more for analytics side of things. Relational database is really the backbone for your application. So they still have a play. Each one of them have a play, and you can have both of them when you have your business. But now, what happens with all this data that I was talking about, all the additional data from like documents, PDFs, conversations, videos, all of that, that is really not structured data. So then you put that one in what we call a data lake. Have you heard of data lakes, Andrea?
Wait, no. You have mentioned data warehouses, data lake, and what else? Databases. So let's clarify this a little bit. Is there like a one size fits all solution, or what it is?
I mean, I mentioned the database, the columnar database, and the raw database, and definitely there is a fit for those. Similarly, databases, data lakes, and data warehouses, there is room for everyone in this party. So we talk about databases, relational databases. Most people associate databases with the relational databases. Then we have the data warehouse, which is more traditionally associated with columnar databases because of the analytics, because you are doing a lot of massive analytics on it. So data warehouse will be more of a columnar database. And finally, we're going to be talking about a data lake. A data lake really is about capturing all your data, dumping all your data. This is real possible with technology like AWS S3 or Google storage. Now, before Google and AWS were data lakes, yes, in something called a service called Hadoop. Probably you have heard of it. Hadoop MapReduce, and this is really how do you have massive amounts of hard drives that store your data, how you access your data pretty fast. Now, nowadays with cloud computing, all of this is stored in AWS S3 or Google Cloud because it just makes it a lot easier. So you're talking about being able to put all this data in one place, just dumping your data in, and then having transformation pipelines that will take it from this unstructured data into an structured format so that you can actually do analytics. Now you have databases, data warehouse that are equal to columnar databases, and then data lakes. Is there a fit for everyone? Yes, there is a place for everyone in here. And always mentioning databases is really great for transactions. Data warehouses or columnar databases are great for analytics and be able to parse a lot of analytics. And then data lakes are great for being able to just have a whole of all the data that you have. You can be structured and unstructured, everything goes in there. And then you're able to have pipelines, transformation pipelines that will transform all these data in this data lake into a structured database that then you can put in a data warehouse. So you have a data lake. So that's the architecture, right? Data lake is just putting everything into an S3. Then you have the data warehouse. And when you have these two combined into the architecture of analytics, it's called a data lake house. And the reason for that is because you have your data lake with a data warehouse on top, which looks like a data lake house in there. Just looking at all the amount of massive data that you have and being able to do analytics on that. Now, it is important on the data lake, when you're implementing a data lake, that you are having a good data strategy in regards to organization. So do you know what data is coming from? You can have a lot of unstructured data, but you need to organize it in all these folders, being able to have some type of data governance on this. Because if you don't and you start dumping things, it's very easy for you to lose track of what's actually in these data lakes. And once you lose track of what is inside the data lake, it becomes from going from a data lake to a data swamp. But really, there is like you don't understand what's going on. Everything is a mess, and after a while, you're just paying for stuff for storage that you're actually not using, and you're not getting anything out. So it's important to be able to have that. Providers like AWS and GCP give you tools like data lake formation that would allow you to have some governance in your data. So it's important to have that. Now, you mentioned databases like MySQL. Do you know any columnar databases? Have you heard of? Probably you may have heard of them. You just don't know that they are columnar databases or that they are data warehouse. But does any of that ring a bell, Andrea? No, you're completely from the business
Yeah.
side, from a user perspective, and which is good. I mean, it's
I remember
interesting.
some of it.
I'm not gonna. I mean, you remember some of it, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we worked together in a few days, but when we were doing analytics in this company that we work together, I mean, I don't know why I'm not mentioning it. When we did analytics in Hyperwallet, it was mainly MySQL because that's what we knew, and we were doing analytics from the contact center, all these calls, all these call metrics, and all this stuff. It would have been beneficial back then to have a data warehouse to do it would have been a lot faster. So what are data warehouses that you can use today? You have AWS Redshift. You have BigQuery from Google, very powerful serverless option. You have Snowflake. You have Databricks. And all of these are columnar databases. They are advertised as data warehouse as well. But the underlying how they work is on a columnar database. So probably there are others, but these are some of the most popular ones. So back then, it would have been very beneficial to have a columnar database. Yeah. are having a lot faster to be
A
able to parse through
column.
all of those OTRS tickets that we have, being able to do analytics, all that.
Sorry, so you say a column what?
Columnar database. That's what versus a raw database from like MySQL or Postgres is a raw database. Now, Postgres is an interesting one because Postgres can be a raw database or can be columnar, and it depends on how you create it. Columnar database in Postgres, there are some things that you have to do to be able to convert it on columnar database, but it is possible. It's not as fast and efficient as it is a dedicated one like BigQuery or a Snowflake, but it is possible to use Postgres as a columnar database. You can check that out. You can Google some of this stuff and check that out. But it is important to be able to know the distinction and to know where to use them. Now you have information on when to use these ones. Databases for transactions, data warehouses or columnar databases for analytics, and data lakes for when you just have to be able to capture all of your data from documents, audio, video, all of that in one place. You can combine that data and then enhance it and then ultimately move it into a data warehouse or a transactional database. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful to give you insight. There is a lot of things going on, and this serves into the machine learning side of things. It's just the base to be able to get into machine learning, which is, I'm sorry, my passion, and that's why I have to bring it up.
That's fine. So just to sum up for a person like me, so database would be kind of like filing cabinets, yeah, where you have everything organized.
Yeah.
Data warehouse is more like the library, which is like bigger, and all the cabinets are there.
Yeah.
And then the lake.
You can
it's
say
just
that.
like everything.
It's just like what?
Everything on like dumped in.
It's your entire library, right? It's just
Okay.
like you have like the cabinets, like it's kind of like the entire library building where you have like the books, the chairs, like everything goes in there.
Oh, I see.
Like the people, because the people may have knowledge and everything, right? So like the data lake is just everything.
Okay, sounds good. And well, with all this data that's running around, then security must be a huge concern, right? So what's at stake here?
Massive concern, right? So give the least amount of permissions to the least amount of people. The least amount of access, that means that is less likely for some of this information to leak out. There is a huge amount of security tools out there. The biggest risk in an organization is the human person, is your employees. And so you can have a lot of different security tools on security, but it is the employee that is using the database in their personal laptop, is using the database, is accessing the data lake in their personal laptop. They don't have the security that you will have in your corporate laptops or in your corporate devices. And all of a sudden, they save this password in a Google Drive, they save this password in Confluence, and it's saved there in a public environment, and somebody forgot and then got published. There is a huge amount of like these type of incidents that happen because somebody forgot, somebody wanted to make it easier to be able to access the database, and they made a change, they made a mistake, and they were not even aware of. So give the least privileges to the least amount of people. I have been in organizations where passwords are safe in a Confluence page where everybody has access. And I'm not talking about passwords for specific users. These are root account passwords for databases that everybody has access to. And it's just like, please don't. Please do not share passwords. Passwords should be individual so you can keep track and you can actually implement least privileges. Please do that. With machine learning, do the same thing. especially with LLMs, with the Gen AI, it's very easy to be able to give them access to all of this. The moment that you give it access is the moment that you're actually giving access to whoever is using that machine learning model. So please keep it at a minimum, list privileges across. There is a lot of data leak, and most of these data leaks are because people do not follow best practices as an employees. So recently, Snowflake had is in the news because there is a lot of data being stolen out of Snowflake customer accounts, and we're talking about huge clients like Ticketmaster. So these are not small clients; these are huge clients using Snowflake. And when it comes down to it, is because it's not necessarily a problem of Snowflake. They have security. It's not somebody that stole a hard drive or going and access to the code and was able to create something really crazy to be able to infiltrate Snowflake infrastructure. It was because there was no security practices on the user side. There was a malware on the user computer that was able to log the username and password to be able to gain access to Snowflake account, and simply the attackers were able to use the username, password, login, and start streaming all the data out of Snowflake. And so it really is not about the technology side, but like your practices and the employee practices. So keep that in mind. List amount of privileges, keep your system secure, and always keep monitoring that. But the biggest part, just list amount of privileges and review that often, because I have been there. I'm guilty of that, where a new user comes in, I start giving them access because they need it, and then a year later, 2 years later, they have moved on to a different role. They don't need that access, or they have different responsibilities, but they still have that access that I gave them because I never went back to review who has access and who doesn't, and audit all that access. So please do that. That is very, 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 very important. For
Makes
those that are
sense.
on the security that are listening to me, you know what I'm talking about. But please audit this often.
Makes
That's
sense.
advice.
And now moving on to career insights. Eduardo, how has it been for you learning these new technologies?
I mean, it has been fun. Play around with it. That's the biggest advice. How, like, when you started in technology, you were customer service, you move over. We talked a little bit about this in the last episode, and you move over. What do you think what was the most helpful thing that you went through that you were like, you know what, this helped me a lot? What will you say was the insight as you were starting to manage data? I remember you started doing some reports.
Yeah,
You built some scripts for some reports and started handling data. What would you say was the most helpful thing that you did during that time?
the most helpful thing that I did, I just think like just building those reports from scratch, and like learning like how the data we could combine the data to get what we needed, or yeah, I think that was the most helpful.
So, like, everybody that I talk to is like everybody learns by doing. And what happens is that a lot of the times people are afraid to start doing because they would need to know more. They think that, oh, I need to know more. This is going to be. If I go and take a look at my designs from Hyperwallet from back then of what I did, it will be horrible. I'll be like, who allowed me to do this? But it was part of the journey of learning. It was fun. I'm going to tell you, my first interaction with data was back when I was working at Rogers Telecommunications here in Canada, and I started doing. Rogers has cable, cell phone, home phone, and internet. So have these 4 lines of business. Probably they have more now, other types of things going on, but back then they have four. And my team, I was responsible for making sure that when people wanted to cancel something, I was able to offer them a deal or something, right? So it was in the retention department. So we had these 4 different systems for all 4 different promotions, and then we had to do calculations of what will be the bill on all the when people had all these for services, and we are like there doing calculations by hand, and it was horrible. And so what I did, I built a program based on Java that will be a calculator that will load all these promotions, all these packages, and you will just select it, and it will build, and you will be able to add promotion and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. It was really nice. The database, you know what the database in the back end was for that, to be able to hold all those promotions and all of those things? I mean, you're talking about like 12, 15 years ago. It will have been smart to even to use MS Access. But no, Eduardo didn't know anything about this. He was using text files. It was just purely text files that have promotions. I have text files for different things. There was a massive amount of text files going around in folders. And then, but I did it. It was working. Then managers saw it. They really liked it. They brought me over to a different team, and they asked me to create a hierarchy with analytics behind it so that we could be able to get aggregations. So if you had a team, we will be able to get aggregations at a manager level, at a senior manager level, at the director level, at a site level, all these different things that we can do. Well, Eduardo still didn't know about databases, so I built all of these in files and folders. My hierarchy was folders. I was massive, it was horrible, but I understood about data. I started playing around with data a lot. And then finally, somebody gave me access to my MS Access to be able to do analytics. And I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. MS Access. I can actually have databases and relational. And I started using SQL. And then an organization introduced me to my SQL, to Oracle. SQL, I'm sorry, Oracle, not one of the best, but still way better than MS Access. And then my mind was blown up, and like, wow, there is so much that I didn't know, so many things that I could have done better back then. But there was a lot of learning that I did around all of this. Don't be afraid to start. Yes, what you're going to build probably is not going to be the best, but as long as it works, as long as it solves the problem that you're going after, and as long as it gives you knowledge, go for it. It doesn't matter if it's pretty. You cannot imagine the amount of companies that I have been with where you think they are doing something amazing and great and it's beautiful, and you look under the covers and it's just like paper tape, like it's just so like patched up, like you had there is band-aids everywhere, and things are just working because there is one line of code that makes everything work, and somebody has something like it's just insane. But it works. So as long as it works, keep going for it, keep learning, keep doing that. So my advice is just go for it. Start building, start doing something, start like just playing with it, and start getting some hands-on. Companies are really getting out and giving you access for that. If you're in AWS, do SQL. Sorry, if you're SQL, if you're in AWS has a skill builder. Google it, AWS Skill Builder. If you want to learn with Google and the data side of things in Google, you can have Skill Boost. These are paid. There are some free courses and free labs from them. There is both of them offer free tiers with some credits for some of this stuff. So please go ahead and play with them. I'm sure some of this stuff. But just play with it. Just have fun, play with it. O'Reilly, for me, it's one of the bigger ones. It's a little bit pricey, but it's a fantastic tool. They have a lot of labs and they're across multiple different things to be able to do data. So go and play, go and have fun, hands-on. I think, Andrea, you had that. I remember the first time that you were doing a Python script to do a report, and you're like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And then you did it, and it's like, okay, it's working. And I remember when you finalized it, it was really, really cool to see you like finalize that script. And I was like, cool, now we can put it in production. We put it in production, and it was working really nicely. And it was really cool to see you get that working. Do you remember any of your Python skills?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Okay,
It's been a while.
one of these episodes we're gonna do a live Python coding exercise with Andrea. She's gonna show us how to do these dashboards on Python.
Sure. One of these days. Wow. Anyway, no, but okay, talking about advice that you give listeners, my advice would be to be curious and to ask questions, because I think that's what helped me. Well, back then, that I asked you a ton of questions. I'm sure you were like every 5 minutes, Eduardo, and like, what? But it helped me, and like, yeah, just don't be afraid to ask questions and be persistent.
I think that's something that affects us. I mean, I'm horrible at asking questions and more horrible at asking for help. So don't be afraid for asking help. It really reduces your learning curve a lot. It's good that you go and be curious and try to learn on your own. But after, if you're really not finding the answer, raise your hand, reach out to someone, and ask for help. And you will. There is a lot of people that are willing to help you, and it will reduce the amount of like your learning time by a lot. And you're not gonna get frustrated. You're not gonna get like, oh my gosh, it's taking me 15 hours just to know how to do this little one thing. So please, don't be afraid. Raise your hand. All of us have questions. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still have tons of questions. I still ask people to help me on different things. So please don't be afraid to do this.
No, and the thing is that learning new tech like this, like data, like can open up amazing opportunities. So just keep asking questions moving forward.
Absolutely. All of us handle data, whether you're a user, whether you are an architect, anybody, you're actually handling data. Even at a personal level, we have documents, Google Drive that we share, photos and stuff like that. Know where they are stored and keep practicing those. Privacy right now is a huge thing. Even in your albums, like you have photos in your phone, least privileges. Don't give things to people that shouldn't have them.
Sounds good. Okay, so I think that's all we have for today. Just to briefly summarize the key takeaways. So we discussed the different tools for managing data, the importance of data security, and some starter tips for big data tools. Anything else you want to add, Eduardo?
I don't have anything else. I think we have covered a lot. From my side, be curious, keep going, keep learning, and yeah, just go and do.
Do it. Yeah.
Do it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we have more exciting episodes coming up soon. So looking forward to it. And,
Absolutely. Andrea,
thank you,
are
Eduardo.
you on social
Yes.
media? Are you okay if people connect with you?
Yes,
You
of
have to go
course.
every social media handle, but like, go ahead, share any social media you want people to connect with you. Maybe ask a question.
LinkedIn would be, I guess, a good one. Do I have to share it now? How do I share it?
Do you know you know your how do you share? Okay, we share
Andrea
it.
Cepeda.
We'll have a link for Andreas.
There
Andrea
you
Cepeda. Look
go.
for Andrea Cepeda. She has a picture of her. You'll find her. I'm as well here. I'm as well in LinkedIn. You can find me, Eduardo Morta. There is a couple of Eduardo Mortas now. My handle is Edua Mota, EDUA Mota. You can find me there. There is a lot of different things that I do with machine learning, AI. There is events that I do. We do it. Please, a lot of them are free, so please go ahead and share that. Look at that. If you have any questions, please reach out. And if you want to find, the other thing is that I will say, as you are handling all of this, as you are getting with your data and you don't know who to reach out to, there is a lot of people in LinkedIn that they're doing data. A lot of them are willing to lend a hand to give advice into what they have done, be a mentor, answer a question that you may have, you're struggling how to get started, or if you are looking to a particular technology. There is lots of resources on LinkedIn. A lot of them, I have reached out to people on LinkedIn, asked a question. Not everybody has the time, so hey, don't take it personally if they say no. But there is a lot of other people that are willing to help. Say yes, I can lend a hand. I can give you an answer, a question around this. Feel free to reach out. There is a lot of good people out there willing to help.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Another great
Thank you.
episode. Thank you,
Thank you
Andrea.
for tuning in. No, thank you, Eduardo, for all your wisdom and all your knowledge.
If you have questions, if this is helpful, please reach out to us on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We don't have this in YouTube. Please reach out to us. Post a comment, maybe something that you questions, feedback. This is for you. Something doesn't work. If there is a topic that you would like to hear, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to address those questions and to cover those topics.
That's right.
But for now, have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.